Welcome to The Eyes of Indigo with your infinitely curious hosts, Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Our show is broadcast live at 9:30 p.m. Wednesdays. Socio-spiritual topics are laced with humor as we discuss weird stuff in a rational way. Learn more about us in our first episode, The Prequel. Shows are recorded and available on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, iTunes, and other aggregators. A keyword searchable index is at iriscarter.com/EOI directory. Share ideas and comments in the program chat or by email. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share our show. Let us know you're here by typing your hello in the comments because we are thrilled to welcome you as we begin another adventure right now. I'm getting there. There we go. Oh, I lost Margot in the process. Hello, everyone. Oh, I don't know why it did what it did. I'm not even going to try. It's just, here you come back. I hit a button and I think I hit a button under it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like,
I could still see you, and I saw. Whoop, yep. Just give her a minute.
No
worries. Technology is weird. The intro hung up for me on my end a few times. So yeah, it's not you. I believe it's somewhere in my neighborhood.
I'll accept that.
Take that. We'll take that. Hi guys, as you can see, I'm Margot, and this is Iris beside me, and we are Eyes of Indigo, like the intro told you. Yay! We've got coming in, and first in is Dale and Jeannie Stacy. Yay! Glad to see you. Welcome, loved ones. Namaste.
Yes.
Aloha. So, yeah, tonight's an interesting topic that's a little bit different than normal, but not too far. Tonight, we're going to talk about helping others cope as well as ourselves. Iris, tell us where we're going tonight.
We're going to be talking about awakenings, and not the Robert De Niro kind, but helping others that are dealing with shock, grief, coping, and denial. And basically the description I had on here is, as more truths come out of the shadows, people will be thrown into a new reality of confusion, disbelief, despair, fear, and betrayal. How can you help alleviate their angst? How will you deal with your own feelings once they know you were right all along? And one thing I wanted to mention, Margot, when I created this flyer for the program, and I always run them by Margot to make sure she agrees with what I've done, because sometimes I do some weird stuff and she'll always tone it down a little bit, and that's fine, or I don't get the colors right or something like that. But she said she loved it, but what did the woman represent? And my thought was, she was like, is it a mermaid? Is it this? Is it that? And I said, no, she's all of us with our positive energy. That was my take on it. So take it for whatever it means to you, but
she's a light worker. She's an energy worker. She's beaming love and light. Yeah.
I
thought the symbolism was beautiful.
And hello, Rosemary. Thank you for the applause.
Hello.
Yeah.
So as we're all aware, I mean, some of our loved ones are called normies or sleepers, our friends sometimes. And just to be clear, this is people who are not aware of the huge battle, global and cosmic and solar wide and beyond that, and galactic and earth wide and inner each person. There's a battle also as well as inside of our cultures and inside of our families and among our different nations. There's a battle that's often couched as some sort of geopolitical battle, and that's a little part of it, but actually there's a bigger battle going on that people describe as spiritual, and sometimes they describe it as good versus evil. And what we're looking at is whatever you couch that battle as, or label it as, or place it, or own it, or don't own it, or own it for a while and then put it back and then pick up another piece, or whatever you're going to do, like you have been doing since 2020 or before. Okay. Whatever you choose to do, you're going to notice that the unaware people, again, normies, sleepers, woke people, are labels that we often use for them. They're going to start realizing more and more that, like as Iris put in the meme, that you were right all along. And so then it gives us a struggle of us dealing with that shift in energy while they're dealing with shock, betrayal, grief, and amazement, and even sadness, and maybe anger, and then eventually happy and joy when they realize that this also means tremendous freedom, mental, emotional, spiritual, cosmic, galactic freedom for humans and elevation. But that comes later, and we'll talk about that as we go. But Iris brought up a really good point right before the show that we also need to touch on.
I think it's like, oh, me.
That one. She brought up the point that while we help other people as they wake up, if they come, when they come to you with hat in hand or with shock and awe and amazement, cue up the false UFO invasion sequence. They come to you in amazement, it's going to trigger stuff in you too. And you're going to have to go to another level of coping as well. So we're going to address that as well. And I thought that was a tremendously brilliant insight on Iris's part, as usual.
Oh, thank you.
As usual. So we came up with sort of a skeleton of how we wanted to couch through the information. And as usual, Iris has entertaining memes and cartoons to bring some fresh lightning and insight and humor to the situation. So we're going to pop a few of those good funnies up here too.
Yes. And so I think one of the things we want to talk about is actually truth, and because as we talk about the truth, and we've had whole shows on this, but when you're addressing truth can be different to different people. And a lot of people can see the same accident in each one from a different angle and have their own truth about it. And I saw a quote that, well, it wasn't exactly a quote, it was like a meme, but I didn't pull it because it wasn't exactly what we needed for the show, but the words meant a lot to me. And it was kind of like interesting how people put their truths. And it also points out how we hear things like on mainstream media, as well as on other talk shows, podcasts, or whatever. When people put things out, their word choices, our word choices, give a different slant to the truth. And this one showed the difference between shark infested waters versus their home.
Natural habitat.
What we would call their habitat, because we would call it, we go, oh, that beach, it has shark infested waters, or, oh, cool, the sharks are going through, this is their home. Same thing.
Same area, same activity. Yeah.
But it really just,
how much do you own it? How much do you make it about you? Or how much do you let it be naturally what it is? Yeah.
So keep that in mind as we deal with truths and we help other people and that sort of thing. And as we talk through this show, I liked this. This was one. It's a guy at a painting, but he's holding his hands up. It's a painting of a fireplace, and he's holding his hands up like he's warming his hands. Most people don't really want the truth. They just want constant reassurance that what they believe is the truth.
Yes.
And so you got to think about who you're dealing with and what their truth is, because
from a place of compassion.
Yes.
Another earlier point that I'd like for you to expound on about you can find a place of compassion when you remember that at one point you too were first waking up.
Yeah.
Can you bring that
Yeah.
back, Iris? Yeah.
Well, and it is easy to, it's like, I liken it to when people are pregnant. And if you talk to a woman who's had a baby before, she's either like going on and on about the pain and the agony, or, I did that before. It's no big deal. It's going to come out anyway, one way or another, deal with it. And you're going, well, which way do I go? And then once you go through it, you might have the same feeling, and you don't need to make a big deal out of it when the next pregnant person comes along. And you kind of blow them off and, do the same trauma story or the same blase fair story, whichever. And we kind of get miffed at people because oh, I've already done that. Good God, get a grip. Why do I have to listen to this shit again?
It's okay. You're on the air. You can swear now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Iris.
Where am I? Yes, I can use my cuss words. And so it's like, it's the same thing when we're realizing, when other people are recognizing stuff that we've known for years. And sometimes you just want to go, oh, dear God, help me, but you have to realize,
Reel it in.
And decide who your audience is. Do you have an investment in that person? Are they family? Are they a friend? Are they finally coming around? Have compassion. And if there's somebody that's just, blabbing on the internet and going, oh, look what I discovered, like they're the first ones to discover it, turn them off. You don't have to give them any energy. You don't have to take their energy. But you don't have to be mean to the people who didn't listen to you and now they're finally getting it, and you're going, well, I told you so. I can't believe you're just now picking this up. And I've been trying to tell you for 5 years about this crap coming, and you ain't even, and now it's coming, and you want to come and eat my food, and you want to come whine and cry at my table, and I just don't want to hear. No, don't go that route. You might want to, but
come talk to us, ladies and gentlemen, and unload on us. We'll listen to you, and we will agree. But don't unload on the normies and the sleepers who are waking up, because that will, as Iris is heading towards, that'll shut them down.
Yes.
And
yes.
it'll make them wake up slower. All right. Mm-hmm. So get away from the ego driven, I told you so, because trust me, they're going to come to that conclusion on their own. Where did I hear this before? Yeah. Where did I hear? You told me. Yes. And I'm waiting for you to tell me more about what because that's what I discovered is once I had a lot of close friends in the beginning, all through 2020, talked to me for like 4 or 5, 6 hours. Matter of fact, Iris, that's where you and I super connected. We were already connected, but then we very much connected over talking about what really is going on. And eventually they're going to come to that conclusion, and they're going to tell you, you told me this already. Let them. Iris, I think you had an excellent phrase that I wrote down. Let them have their journey.
Yes.
And why does it matter if what they believe or what their truth is matches your definition of truth? Because there's some people that are going to halfway wake up or partly wake up, and they won't see the whole picture yet. So Iris, if you could address that for us a little bit. What does it matter about what is truth? Defining truth.
Yeah, well, we talked a little bit about that, but it's like, I've had conversations with people where they're going, I get this and I get this and I get that, but I just don't get that. This little part that I don't know. That's just a little outstretched. And it's like, okay, that sounds like an invitation that you want more. So let me just pose some information to you and take it for what it is. And I start giving them more, and then they're like, whoa, and they get it. They get the connection, and it's like, whoa. But I also have to recognize when I need to stop. Because I have been in deep conversations. I sit every day with people and talk about job search and how to hunt for a job and how to do their resume and how to do an interview, and I'm doing all this stuff. And there are some people that come in that I can conversate for a long time and give them the information, and they're just like eating it up and taking notes and all this stuff. And then there's some people that I get to a certain point and I start seeing the glaze. And it's like, I have given you an awful lot of information, and I'm sure that's a lot to digest. And like, yeah, I am getting kind of, I said, you're saturated. We're going to leave it at that. And you go home and digest it. Call me back with questions. Set up another appointment if we need to. And I'll help you more. But take what you got and work with that and then come back to me. I do the same thing for people that come to me with the weird shit, and they're going, yes, I believe this and believe that, but I don't know about this. Nah, really? You think that's what? No, no. Let me tell you what I know. And then I start, and they're like, and I'll start, if I'm talking to them on the phone, I can just feel that energy of, wow, oh. And then it's like, but I'm going to stop there. There's more.
Exactly. The formula that is very popular that I've noticed works from trial and error, because I didn't use the formula and there were people who don't talk to me anymore. They used to. All right. Stop at 10%. Stop. Give 10% of what you know, or explain or share 10% of what you know, and stop and assess. Like ours just said, are they glazing over? Are they leaning in for more and still asking questions? Or is it time to stop and let them absorb? And you can say, there's more. I have resources. I can tell you more, but I can see this is a good time to stop for you, but you are always welcome to ask me more questions. But about 10% at a time seems to work for the majority of people just waking up. FYI. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not that good at figuring out, what do I know? And it is hard because you get excited and you start thinking, oh, I will tell you this. Oh, let me tell you that. Oh, and then it's like all of a sudden you just feel that because they're trying to protect themselves because their brain's going to explode.
Yeah, you're explaining more and more about how their reality is completely not what they thought it was. So that makes them feel vulnerable and scared, because you're literally telling them air is not what you think it is. Earth is not what you think it is. Government and money are nothing like what you think they are. Education is all a falsehood. History, every single bit of it, all the way up to through, 1 month ago and less, every bit of it, back to the beginning of time, is all false. And that's creepy, especially to people who haven't been living with it for 3, 5, 10, 20 years. That they're used to this weirdness. They're used to that intellectual instability, but newbies are not. So
And when
baby
you're
steps, baby
the
steps.
ground under them, literally, I mean, they're foundational.
Yeah, you're ripping out the blanket, the rug under them. You're hardcore. And while it's fun for you because you're used to it, it's no fun for them that choose to have a scared reaction. Yeah.
And I thought this is interesting, and I think it's a good time to bring this in. Um, the truth is like a lion; it never needs defending. Set it loose, and it'll defend itself.
Amen,
Uh,
sister.
and it's like, anytime we know something, when somebody believes anybody in the whole world, no matter what their status is, when they believe something with all their might, they're they want to stand behind it. Of course, this is the truth. And then if it's when we're coming and presenting new truths, they're going, but what about my truths? And so it's kind of like a lot of times if you just kind of put it out there and let it go.
Let them own it at their own pace.
Yes. And then whatever the true truth is, it's going to defend itself. as long as if you give supporting information as people want it. It's like they'll see the lion roaming around and they'll go, hey Tammy, they'll go, is that a lion out there? I didn't think lions lived on this continent. Yeah, it's roaming around out there. And they're
So
like,
we're
oh,
pterodactyls, but that's a whole nother discussion and show.
yeah, yeah. But I'm
Mm.
using it in reference to the meme, and it's like, oh, well, is it dangerous? Probably, but I wouldn't
It's
go out
still
and pet
there.
it like a kitty cat. It's still there. And then they'll start looking at it and realizing that they've been with a kitty cat the whole time and not the lion's the real truth. And it's like, oh, is that what's
And they'll
going
start
on?
asking questions. Who put the kitty cat in front of me? Who told me that the kitty cat was actually the only feline out there when actually, obviously, you just showed me a lion, or the life did, or I figured out that there was a lion there. Okay, so, society, government, other factions, why are they trying to deceive me? What do they gain from it? And in other words, I'm starting to name the openings to a lot of different rabbit holes that will show up as they start asking questions. And this is where they can choose or not to come back to you and say, hey, what about that rabbit hole? What about that rabbit hole? What about that or that rabbit hole? And we're going to talk about some of those major rabbit holes in just a minute, such as religion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What I want to say at this point is if you go back to our Eyes of Indigo directory that's on Iris's website, iriscarter.com, this is why we created this show, okay? To give people information about various rabbit holes as their consciousness shifts, as their awareness shifts, as their definition of truth shifts and changes. That there's a ton of support information and coping information all through our show, not just humor. And a lot of guest speakers bring a lot more truth and coping tools with them to the show. Feel free. It's all free. All of it's free online. Feel free to dig into those past episodes, go digging through the topics and find what speaks to you. That's why it's there.
Yes. Yeah. And okay, so let's look at okay. So we all know when we learn something that kind of throws our world out of balance, we end up we're
Grieving,
kind of jolted and it's a grief process.
shock and grief. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like because and I think we were talking about the definition of grief and a lot of people think oh grief is when you lose a person, but there's so many kinds of grief because anytime that something changes in your life and you're mourning the loss of something, someone, or information and trying to replace it with new information, there's a grieving process that goes on because it's like, if you move from one house to another, you might be excited about the new house, but the old home is what you're used to. And you're kind of like, well,
I
I'm going
grieve
to
big
miss
time
that.
every time I move, even when it's a happy move. It grieves me. I freak out. It's a very
Yeah.
personal thing. I don't talk about it, but it takes me like 6 months
Yeah. And
to stop grieving. Yeah.
when people lose a job, which I deal with a lot, I have to remind them that they're grieving a lot of times
Yeah.
because they don't know why they're angry. They don't know why they're depressed. And it's like, you're grieving a huge loss. You've lost friends, you've lost a job, a lifestyle change, all these things. And they're going, I never thought about that. And it's like, yeah, it's a grief. It's real grief because your whole world has been turned upside
It's a
down.
loss. It's a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So defining loss, absolutely. To recap kind of what ours what is saying. Yes, it's a loss is a death of a pet or a loved one or a friend or whatever, or a coworker or whatever. But it's also, like ours said, loss of a job. I've seen people grieve when they lost a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I've seen people grieve tremendously when they lost like an object that used to be very valuable to them, such as grandma's bracelet or dad's favorite necktie that used to hang over here, and now in granddad's necktie, and he used to hang over here, and somebody threw it out by accident. Why am I so freaking angry and sad? What? You're grieving a loss. All right. So losses are things as well
and
as
another
people. Yeah.
Another example is like, have you ever seen like a favorite, like an old school that gets shut down and they're wanting to trash it to build something new in its place, or a restaurant or a movie theater or something that you've known for a long time that people, suddenly somebody new comes in and they go, well, we could do much better. And they want to redo it. And people
Change
will
everything.
protest and get mad and cry and scream and all that, and they're experiencing grief because what they knew is changing.
They
So
feel
it's
like
like,
they lost something. Yeah, they feel like they
yeah,
lost something. Absolutely. So there's 5 stages to grieving that it really helps to understand generally what they are and how they interact with each other when you're doing one or both of 2 things. Your own grief, remember this is going to affect you even though you're aware, all right? And other people's grief, shock and grief and coping. We're putting all those 3 together because that's what happens. Shock leads to grief, leads to needing to cope. The 5 stages are generally denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and eventually acceptance. The common misconception is that people only go in a certain order. First, they're in denial, then they're angry, then they bargain, then they're depressed or sad, and then they eventually do acceptance. Nope. Humans hop around and go back and forth and they skip over one. They can go from denial all the way to depression and suddenly they accept it. And they never did the middle two. And I love you. So, or they can hop back and forth, or they can stay in anger for a long time, in depression for just a couple hours, and suddenly hit acceptance, and then get angry about something and come out of acceptance and get back into denial because they can't deal with their anger, and so on and so on. It's normal for humans to hop around. All 5 of those feelings related to that loss are still the stages of grieving, and they're valid. People want to know, how long does this last? It can last anywhere from, depending on the severity of the loss and how much it changes someone's lifestyle. And guys, we're talking about stuff that's going to change everything in their life. This can last anywhere from a few days to several years. Okay, several years being 2 or 3 or more. If it's 2 or 3 or more, at that point, they need to get another level of help. But it's normal to experience these grief feelings for at least a year. Okay, just to give you a little bit of a timeline on that. But we wanted to give you those 5 stages so that you could recognize when somebody's grieving, when they hit one of those 5 reactions at all. And of course, the goal, of course, is acceptance at the end, and then stay there so you can get on with your life. But Iris, you also brought up a really good point in our notes about what is our purpose as conspiracy researchers, as awake people, not woke. Woke is a different faction, different belief system. As awake people and conspiracy realists is another word. You mentioned we're not here to fix people. We're here just to support. Can you expound on that a little?
Yeah, because people have to go through their own journeys. We went through our journey getting here. And so anybody who's had any kind of revelation or recognition that majorly changed their lives about things that have gone on, and we have gone through stages where it's like the same thing where it's a grieving, oh my God, I can't believe I've been lied to, I've been deceived, I've misunderstood this stuff, it's been right in front of my face, why didn't I see it this whole time, yada 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 yada
God, I
yada.
feel stupid. God, I feel, I feel used. What kind of sheep
Yeah,
am I? Wait a minute. You're telling me I'm being deceived. Are you trying to deceive me now with this deception? A lot of confusion.
yeah.
A lot of confusion.
and
Yeah.
and it, and we went through it, we got through it, and doing that journey is part of the process. You can't just
Can't skip it.
immediately plug in and go, "Let me fix you, and I'll fix this all, and you don't have to do the grief and the 5 stages. No, you've learned this, and let me fix you. I'm gonna tell you and tell you what it's gonna." No, you don't fix people. You allow them to change, and you allow them to change at their own pace, and you allow them to experience that journey, because it's the journey, it's not the destination. That's what life is all about anyway, is to have experiences and to understand the process and to go through it. And sometimes going through the process is a lesson so that they can go through another process easier the next time. And if it's are you gonna uh, give them a fish, or you're going to teach them to fish. You got
Bingo.
to, yeah. So you've got to let them have their experiences and own them and do their own recognition, so that they can break out of the cycles that they're in.
That they're trapped
So,
in. Yeah.
right. And so that I told you so crap doesn't work. And then the, um, oh, I can fix it and make you all better. No, you can't. Don't even try. Just
Offer your
nurture
support.
them along their journey. Yes.
Tell them
Yes.
it's okay to be confused. It's okay to be sad or angry. In other words, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to
Yeah.
ask questions. And another thing that we've talked about often in our show is encourage people to start trusting their intuition more and more and more. Because they're going to say, what is truth? How do I know? How do I know what you're telling me is true? How do I know, which news channels and podcasts to believe and blah, blah, blah. Follow, learn, yeah, follow and learn your intuition language, what it feels like, what it sounds like inside of your own body, your own mind slash head, wherever you think it is. Follow your intuition, encourage that. That is a little bit of a life raft. Even if they don't think they're intuitive people, humans are naturally intuitive. Encourage that. Tell them, nope, you're not set adrift. You have friends, and you have intuition, and you have a soul that is infinite and can never die no matter what you tell it. Okay, you're
I
fine.
had to I had to laugh because that reminded me. I've got a great analogy for what you were just talking about. I This was a number of years ago. A woman came in for help with a resume. And she had been trying for months, and she said, "I'm just nobody's calling me back for interviews. I don't know what's wrong with it. I've done all this research, and I think it's okay, but." And so I got her resume and I said, "Let's make some changes." And I started working on the new resume and pulled it together, and we were talking through it the whole time, and I showed it to her, and she said, and it was totally different than what she had had. And she said, and she was like in tears. She was like, "But how do I know what you're telling me is right? How do I know this one's any better than the ones I've already done? I look all over the internet, and everybody has different ways of doing it. Or a lot of people say it's this one way." And I said, "Well, first of all," and this is what I told her, I said, "one website will copy another website because that website's getting a lot of hits. So they're going to copy them. And you're going to hear the same information regurgitated in different ways just so that they get the hits because they think what they're saying is popular." I said, "And then you've got other people that don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're just going to throw something up there in hopes of getting hits." And I said, but my methods, I've researched, I've asked what employers want, I've seen what works. It transfers well when you upload a resume and it auto fills out a
A form.
application, a form. It transfers well, so I know that the computers can read it. I said, so do this for me. Try it. And if it doesn't work and you're not happy with the results, come back and we'll rework it. We'll figure something out. We'll make this work for you. And she was like, okay, all right. And she walks out. A week later, she came in. She had 3 interviews. And then when
Yeah.
she got hired, a doctor had looked at her resume and said it was one of the best resumes he had ever seen.
Booyah.
Yeah. So
You want a better job, contact Iris, and she will, even if you have one. And believe it or not, she works for a university that her services are free. Go get you a better job.
and I won't. And if you can't get it for free through where I work, I won't charge you $400 like some people do. That's insane.
That's
But
insane.
that
Yeah.
aside,
So,
yeah, that aside.
but,
But
yeah,
it's the same thing when you think about people who've been listening to all the chatter around, and then suddenly they realize that's not what works,
right.
and they've been lied to. They don't know who to trust. They're confused, and
And
it's
she
like,
trusted her intuition to come to you, even though she was questioning it. And she
yes.
was smart to say, how do I know? That's actually a very good question. How do I know? Another way to alleviate that was to start citing your success rate.
Which I don't even. I
Yeah.
mean, I got a lot of people that have been successful, but it's almost impossible to get like an actual success rate because people don't always report that they have a job. We try to do to get feedback and stuff, but it's hard to know.
Surveys.
All I know, yeah, it's like, well, I don't get any complaints, and
And how
that's a
long
good
have you been
sign.
doing it? And how long have you been doing it?
I've been helping people off and on with job search resumes and that sort of stuff for over 30 years.
There is your credential. Yeah, I'm still doing this after 30 years. So anyway, yes, 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 absolutely. Let people have their journey.
Yeah,
Let them have their
exactly.
journey and just support them with that.
Oh, and also I think this is an excellent when the information's right in front of you and you don't and people don't pay
And they're
attention
still
to the
resisting. And they're still
yes.
resisting. They're saying, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but show them a meme like this one.
Yeah, this is
Face
all different
masks.
kinds of masks. Yeah, tell them about it.
So for those of you that can't see this, maybe that are listening in audio, there's 6 illustrations of 6 masks. A very elaborate one for a smoke firefighter mask for smoke. Another one with 2 huge filters for painting and paint. Another high-tech filter, again with 2 big filters for mining, such as coal. And then there's a huge one that's a full face mask with giant filters hanging on the shoulders and a third one respirator in front straps over the top of your head for pesticides. Yeah, let's talk about that stuff getting out in the environment after the masked person walks away.
Yeah.
I digress. And then there's the 5th mask, which is for radioactivity. Same thing. It's a full face mask, but this one has a breathing hose apparatus for smoke, painting, mining, pesticides, radioactivity. The 6th mask is a picture of a paper surgeon's mask, and it's quote, the deadliest virus in history. And it's just a simple paper mask.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know. Ooh, personal thing. When North Carolina started putting out, that's where I live, started putting out governors' edicts, EOI or something like GOIs or EOIs or EO, something like that, about what you can and can't do while the pandemic was on, where you had to wear a mask or not, or in exceptions to mask wearing. By the way, churches and weddings were exempted, and thank God. And it described what was a mask and what qualified: a bandana, a t-shirt pulled up over your nose, stuff like that was all legally qualified as a mask for a disease that was making Chinese people spin around and fall out and die in the streets by the thousands. And you're telling me a little t-shirt or a bandana or a simple paper mask that leaks all the way around, we've all seen the videos, is good enough. That was my first confirmation. I suspected it before then, but that was my first confirmation. This is a lie. This is a all-out, bald-faced, hard evidence that the government is lying to us. In the very least, the North Carolina government. So, and which extrapolates to the federal. And then you go look up, what does the word federal mean? What is actually federal and what isn't? Which makes you look at the Constitution. And what are the three branches of government? And do you know those four things, the Constitution and the three branches of government, which are the underpinnings of everything you do every day, every minute of your U.S. citizen life? I digress. That's information you need to know. Yeah.
That's another show.
Yeah. Actually, it is. Yeah, it is. The three branches of government in the U.S. Constitution, how that is the underpinnings for day-to-day life for every single U.S. citizen. And there's your show summary. We got it recorded.
Yeah.
And by extension, that's also true for Canadian citizens and British citizens and all of their territories as well, because they're all based on the same system of three branches plus some sort of constitution. So anyway, yeah, and this is why they call us patriots. That's another reason why woke people are also called patriots, because it's tied to loyalty to the collective of humans, not just your own country. But you can call it a nation or your own country if you like. But patriots support other patriots, even in other countries. Yeah. We're all in this together. So, shifting back into this, why are Iris and I talking about this now? We've been on the air since September of 2020. There is, if you're not aware yet, or you probably have heard by now of and we mentioned it earlier, a fake UFO invasion, a staged UFO alien ET craft, spacecraft invasion. Hit it, Iris.
2 aliens talking to a man looks like Central Park with the flying saucers everywhere. We don't like the term invasion. We prefer galaxy gentrification.
Galaxy gentrification. Look up the word if you're not familiar with it, because it's funnier than all get out.
Yeah.
That is a terrific one. I think you had another one that had a similar message along those lines about fake alien invasions. Aliens meaning non-Earth biological beings. We don't call them Martians and ETs anymore, although people sometimes do, and sometimes people still do call them aliens. Problem is the word alien also means foreigner from another country, so that term also doesn't apply. Yeah, so you'll see the media, both non-mainstream and mainstream, use the word alien, but they're starting to use the term because the government admitted that there are ETs out there, and they've been in touch with them for decades, and the Germans have been in touch with them for even longer than that, before World War II. And they admitted they've reverse engineered a lot of technology that we have been seeing surreptitiously in the skies above us, and so on and so on. They've admitted to all that recently, which leads us up to, it's likely that they're going to try to hit us as a culture with a fake, false UFO, UAP, actually, a UAP fake invasion using holograms. All right, highly, highly technical lasers and holograms that anywhere from one great big one over the White House in DC and broadcasting so that everybody can hear it inside their individual heads. Yes, they have that technology in the military. They talk from inside skulls. You can talk inside your mouth, barely move, and all of your all your companions that have the right technology wired up will hear what you're saying inside their head and nowhere else. They can broadcast to everybody that way. Another scenario is one or two big motherships sending out a bunch of little ships going everywhere, like in Hollywood. All the little fighter ships come out. Well, that doesn't mean they're fighter ships, but they send out literally, they might send out 2 or 3 or 10 or 12 with cameras, so to speak, that project image holograms so that it looks like there's hundreds of them zooming around the sky. It's all holograms.
And what I want to point out,
yes,
I don't think that you're going, well, holograms, holy cow, can't you tell? If you look, there's a ton of videos out there, and I didn't think about it for the show because I didn't think about going in that direction. But there are tons where it's like people will be walking down the street. It's kind of like Central Park, but it's usually like somewhere like Tokyo or somewhere like that where they have all the
major
lights
city.
Major city,
yeah.
and you'll see like a marquee that's advertising a movie, and then all of a sudden, like it might be a space movie, and the ship looks like it's crashed into the building and it's coming out onto the sidewalk, and people are like running away thinking it really is, and then they realize, oh, this isn't real. It's just a hologram line. Or you'll see, the King Kong climbing the building or things like that. I mean, it's really interesting to see how advanced these things are.
A lot of you guys, you remember seeing the video clip in a high school gymnasium with that's open floor, and all these kids are sitting in bleachers, and a giant hologram of a whale breaks up through the floor and splashes down in the middle of the gym and sends water, quote unquote, splashing around, and the students are screaming and gapping and leaning back and whatever, and it looks like a real whale, a real blue or sperm, that's 2 different whales. A giant blue whale came up and breached and slammed down onto the floor of the gym, and of course it disappears through the floor as if the floor itself is water. That's a very popular video, and it is breathtakingly gorgeous and detailed. No, you will not know it's a hologram until you force yourself to think, why is this happening now? Beings who do have this kind of technology could have wiped us out completely decades ago when we were really screwing up, blowing off nuclear bombs pre-World War II and during World War II and after in Arizona and in the Bikini Atolls and over Tokyo, not Tokyo, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We were screwing up big time. I mean, Russia was doing it too. China was doing it too. If they wanted to take us out, that would have been the time. And I'm not even as smart as they are. And I can figure that out, so can you. They are not trying to take us out. Somebody is trying to scare you. As a culture.
And this one has to do with the scaring part. The saddest thing about an alien invasion is that it's the only thing that can unite us all. If you want to get a people to group together and shut up and be quiet, you come in with an alien
common enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to force people to come together, give them a common enemy. If you want to drive them apart, make them judge each other.
Yes.
Okay. And that's something we're trying to overcome in this talk as well. We're telling you, don't judge people who are naively just waking up. Avoid that, because that leads to division, separatism, elitism, and it shuts down people who are just learning. Okay. And they are where you used to be. So keep going.
And I think, and we're not saying also, I think, we've had this discussion before and Tony was on the show. No, not all aliens can be trusted. Not all aliens are friendly. However, I think this is appropriate. What aliens do on Earth, and it's got these beautiful crop circle things that people have been studying for years. And what humans do on Mars, and we got the little Mars rover that's been up there, and it looks like a picture of a dick.
Made out of tire tracks in 6 different directions, right?
Yeah.
Instead of this gorgeous geometry, sacred geometry that the aliens do on our crop circles, right?
I know you wonder they're going. What are the humans drawing up there? What is the purpose of that drawing? Looks like bathroom art, you know.
It, it looks like graffiti in a cheap bathroom. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you want to go next level with this, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit further, if somebody is waking up, is trusting you to wake up in your presence and ask questions and listen to what you have to say, and you're perceiving them as naive and they don't know everything and they're asking good beginner questions, think about what aliens think about us. And Tony Rodriguez talked about that in that episode with us too. We're considered naive and unknowing because we just realized that we're not alone in the universe. And they've known that for literally billions of years, sometimes millions, but literally billions of years. So we're way even those of us that are confident, in non-terrestrial life forms who are people. The word people still works. They're just, people from other planets. So we're Terrans, actually. We're from Terra. Out there, this planet is known as Terra. Terra. Yeah. And in some cultures, it's got other names. But yeah, have fun with that. But remember, there is a pecking order, and we're still nowhere near the top. Sidebar, there's supposed to be a system of 12 graduations of how sophisticated and enlightened a culture is as a planet. Well, for starters, we haven't even come together as one planet yet. There's supposed to be 12. And on the 12th level, you're supposed to be fully enlightened, and a guru and worldly and godlike and angelic and so on. We're not even past one. We've got 11 more to go. So, yeah, be gentle with those that are still waking up to step one. We're all on. Yeah. Just to give you a little bit of numbers and scale.
I think another thing to recognize is we're also, a lot of us go, well, this is our truth. So, of course, we believe it. And we're still learning. We might not have all the answers yet.
New information comes in every week, sometimes every day. Yeah.
So when you're looking at somebody who's starting at the very beginning,
they're going to
you
teach you
can't
something
assume
sooner or
that
later.
you can't assume that you're the authority, and that's something that Margot and I have tried to share too, is that we're sharing what we've learned and trying to help people understand the path to get there, not
Tell you
absolutely
what to
say,
see.
here it is. Do the research and
use your intuition.
And we never stop learning. If once we do, we don't need to be around anymore, do we?
That's one way to look at it. Absolutely. It depends. Yeah, you start. Why am I here? You'll start doing it. You'll start going down the rabbit hole of why am I here? Again, it's not the first time you've asked yourself that question. But yeah, now you're starting to see why. Yet another reason why you are still here for this point. One of the most amazing and transformative that human history has ever seen. And you're here to experience it firsthand. Not easy, but fascinating.
Yes. Yes.
It is really cool. It is really cool. So, one other thing you brought up, Iris, that about people's belief systems and shock, trauma, and disbelief, that might be one of the hardest things for people to brain wrap is religion. You want to expound on that one before we talk about what else we're going to offer this month?
When somebody has been raised in a church, and there are, there's different beliefs out there, but a lot of them guilt and shame you into believing their belief systems. And they're
their
raised,
doctrines. Yeah.
their doctrines. And you also consider people are going, they're going, if especially if they've been raised in a church where they're going every week, they're around people they know, people they trust, people who repeat the same things that they have been taught by their ministers or whoever is the
Affirm,
leader of the church.
affirm,
And
affirm, affirm. Yeah.
yeah, and
Validate,
so
validate, validate.
they're gonna, and that is their reason for being, that is their existence, that validates everything that they do and how they ground themselves in life and how they behave in life. And of course, if we do this and we do this, we're going to heaven, and when I die I want to go to heaven, and I don't want to go to whatever their belief system teaches. And then suddenly you realize that that's not exactly true. And you've got people that are trying to shake that grounding from under you. And religion is one of the biggest beliefs that people have. And
Foundational.
more and more people
Foundational.
are waking up to that. And something that, and here's my belief, just my personal, and it's something I have recognized since I was a young child, because I have seen, oh, well, not all religions believe the same, and not all churches, even the ones that believe the same, aren't all alike. Every one of
They're not
them's
all
different.
teaching the same. Yeah.
And I would get so confused. And I finally realized that it's intuitive for me. I mean, I knew it. I would
Yeah.
just sit. I go, okay, there's God. I'm just going to pray to God. Okay, what's going on? Tell me about this. And I would get answers, and I would get things. I learned a foundation, but I also recognized that Noah. That was one of my earliest recognitions. Was Noah. I'm coloring the picture with the cartoon characters on the Noah's Ark, and
Animals.
a giraffe and a elephant and a penguin and a bird flying through the air, and I'm like, a boat and all the animals, really? All the animals, two by two, and how did he collect them, and how did they get there? All the animals around the world. There's more to this story, and I just, and that just totally blew my belief in a lot of the stories that I heard. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of poignancy and a lot of things that I do
There's a
believe.
basis of truth in it. Yeah. By the
Yes,
way, that's
yeah,
why we don't have unicorns and dragons. They did not make the cut.
yeah. And
Those
then
actually existed. Yeah.
supposedly, but anyway. But what I recognized is
They went somewhere else, by the way.
worshiping beliefs and yeah, belief systems and all, and how you worship and how you present your faith and your spirituality are very personal things that you can share with other people. But religion for me is a business.
It's an institution
It's all about making money
and controlling the
to impress
masses.
people and controlling the masses. It's all about
Hmm.
control.
It's
But
controlling your life, your brain, and your money.
yeah,
That's what it, yeah.
and because I mean,
And your
in another,
family, and controlling your family too. Yeah.
and I know of a local church that they, oh, you must tithe 10%, and people believe that if they don't give 10%, and I'm like, God really doesn't give a shit about dollar
God
bills
is
and
not a
cents.
CPA, guys.
Yeah, yeah. And but there is a local church that's maybe 15 miles from me.
They swear by it.
And they actually make their parishioners
Turn
give
in.
their tax returns, show their tax returns to prove that they're giving 10%. And
Honey,
it's like,
that's satanic, if you ask me.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's communist and satanic.
but
That's
imagine
fascist.
those people that have grown up and believing that that is the end all
Normal.
be all to their existence. And then suddenly they learn, no, there's more out there. Holy shit. That is going to destroy anybody.
A sidebar that's related to what you just said. We're using, that's relevant, very relevant. we're using Christianity as an example of religion that is being debunked and expanded. All right. So, I mean, religion is going to be debunked. Modern religion, the way it is now, is slowly getting debunked, and then quickly it'll get debunked. However, it's also going to be expanded because there are some basic truths in all religions, basically. And it's going to get expanded with a bunch of hidden information that's going to come out. Vatican. So, anyway, all that's going to come out. Hundreds and hundreds of volumes. What we're skipping over is Christianity is not the only religion that has been duplicitous.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Paganism has also been duplicitous. Islam, Jainism, Sikhism, all of it. The closest, if you really want to measure truths and untruths and what's bad, Buddhism seems to be pretty much the closest to the original truth, but there are hang-ups in that too.
And they're not really, I've heard people say they're not a religion as much as a complement.
It's not actually a religion. It's actually a lifestyle. So you can be a Buddhist Christian. You can be a Buddhist Muslim. It's actually a lifestyle rather than a religion. But yeah, so meaningful conversation about what is religion. But again, we were using Christianity as an example of one of the duplicitous institutions. It's not the only one. Pagans have been duped and deceived as well.
Well, remember,
use your intuition. Go ahead.
In any situation where there are people and there is a leader can become fallible.
Power corrupts, absolutely.
And so, and if you think about the history of the different religions and that sort of thing, people have gone in, gotten corrupted, and then changed things for their own power grab. And so it's not what may have started out as a totally innocent and pure belief system has gotten bastardized over the years.
Popes in the Vatican, popes in the Catholic Church and the Vatican are a great example of that. You can also point out Jim Jones. The cult that followed him to South America that was a big deal in the 80s that all committed mass suicide. Those are just two. That's just two huge and small examples of how that can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a fascinating story. And there's been other cults and stuff where people just get sucked right in.
John of God was another one. People tend to be megalomaniac now that lead religious groups. The irony of this is that I'm a leader of a spiritual group. Woo! Am I speaking against myself? No, our spiritual group actually encourages everybody to, whoop, my camera's messing up. Our spiritual group actually encourages all of its membership to follow in its own teachings and to be self-taught and self-led. People do ask me for advice and structure and good stuff like that, but it's a self-led organization for that reason. Mm-hmm. Just because I understand a truth doesn't mean that it works for you. All right. We're called, and if you want to look it up, networkthelight.net. We're called LUA, Light and Energy Workers Association.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, let's look at what's coming up.
Yes.
We have, yes. Okay. So next week, we're going to talk about pod people. No, not people on iPods and not aliens.
Potty snitches.
But we're going to talk about like podcasters.
Yeah, podcasters.
Like top info sources and where to find information and just some recommendations, ideas, that sort of thing to pass along.
Conspiracy and otherwise. Yes, we will reveal plenty of all the good ones. Yeah.
Yes. August 16th, psychic readings. Again, we do that once a month. August 23rd, clones. Copy that. Yes, we're going to talk about clones. Who is, who isn't, what is it?
What it looks like, what to look for.
Yes.
Yes.
And then August 30th, the meaning of holding space, which will relate a lot to this show too. So, how do you hold space for people, or when I've even heard people, especially people in the friends meetings, they talk about like holding people in the light, or I'm going to hold space for that person, and what does that mean, and why do they
What does
do
that
it, and
mean?
how do you do it? Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to help you understand that so that you can try it for yourself. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that is
I
it
think that was
for
it for now. Guys, all
yeah.
the advice, and just a small reminder, all the advice that we threw out here for how to help your loved ones as they wake up and shift and cope and grieve applies to yourself as well. Okay? It
Yes.
all applies to you too. Keep tuning into your intuition for what you understand is truth. Be compassionate with yourself as much as you are other people.
That's good.
Namaste. Namaste. We love you.
Namaste. Good night. We love y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining the Eyes of Indigo with Iris Carter and Margot Ross Sears. Remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. Music is Arcadia by Kevin MacLeod. Find us at facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo, on YouTube under @Iris Carter Enterprises, and on various podcast aggregators. Copyright 2023 by Iris Carter and Margot Ross